Hi, good morning. And we're here with Graciano, who's a fifth generation shearer. So Graciano, take it away. Tell us about how you became a fifth generation sheep shearer.
Okay. I became a fifth generation shearer because my great great grandfather, he came here uh, from as a refugee from Mexico during the Mexican Revolution. And when they came and settled into Texas, they came as refugees. And Francisco Villa was still raiding the border towns of Texas. And during that time, the U.S. government was subsidizing sheep farmers to raise wool because everything in the military was made, the blankets, the uniforms, everything was in high demand, and that was their fiber. All the coats, blankets, socks. And so there was a great demand for that. And um, it's kind of an interesting story because there's probably five of my in my family that are mixed families, and I guess they kind of all married into each other, you know. Just between my grandfather and my grandmother's side of the family, there was two marriages, like between their brother and sister, and then between a brother and sister on the other side. But it was kind of a family trade, that my grandfather learned from his father, and then he started his own shearing outfit, and they moved out here to California, and he sheared in California, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, all over the states. They would chase the sheep, and he had like a 30-man shearing rig that would travel through all the states, and guys were lined up, and they're shearing sheep herds all day long, and we're talking thousands. The modernization has brought a lot of construction and a lot of new population. So a lot of the grazing lands in California and the other states have dwindled to they're building up the infrastructure and all that stuff. But they used to be like in the thousands. And when I say thousands, I would say 10,000s, like a group at a time. And they tell me that there was so many sheep grazing in pastures before that they almost had to make a trail because you couldn't leave the sheep sitting in one area too long because they would graze the pastures down to the roots, and the cattle ranchers would get mad and upset because they wouldn't grow back and they wouldn't have nothing to feed the cows. So they would have 2 or 3 different shearing companies, and they would jump each other on this trail so they could keep moving the sheep and they wouldn't stay in one place for too long. But anyhow, my grandfather came from Texas. He left his father in Texas, and he made his own shearing outfit out here in California. And my dad and the brothers and all that, they always had to help around the shearing rig, my grandfather's shearing rig. And I kind of learned, and I grew up around it because my grandpa was fading out, and that's when my dad kind of picked up off of there. And then the numbers of sheep, my grandfather's health kind of went down a little bit, and the sheep numbers here in California kind of went down. And my dad started kind of focusing on the small ranches, like the little ranches had 30 or 40 or 50 or 100. And we'd go out every day on the weekends and stuff, and we'd help him pick up the wool and catch the animals and do all that kind of stuff. And then it kind of got left alone for about 10 years. And one day my dad says, "Here, Graciano, I'm going to give you this stuff." And that was his old toolbox. A lot of sheep shear and alpaca sheared toolboxes die in the garage. The old man dies and the box dies with him, because the kids don't even know what it's for or what to do with it. So I felt a little bit sad to see it go because it's kind of been a family tradition. Thinking about it sometimes, it honestly makes me like want to tear up. It's kind of a long thing just to drop off and be forgotten. It's sad. Nobody wants to do this anymore. All the young kids, they want to be lawyers and doctors, and they want to be in computers and that kind of stuff. And it's hard work, but it's also at the same time, it's very rewarding. The ranch people tend to have a different tone than the city folk, and the work is enjoyable. But he gave me this stuff, and we lived in a neighborhood like in the city, And I had a little girl who just loved animals. She's going to be our 5th generation. And that is my daughter, Sammy. She loved animals. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take Dad's gear out. And so we put a couple of flyers here at a feed store, local feed store in San Jacinto, California. And all of a sudden, the phone was just ringing off the hook, right? And keep in mind that I had a regular, I was a union construction worker, and it was a decent job, you know, it paid good and that. But on the weekends, I would take my daughter and we'd go to the local ranches and we'd shear 3 over here, 10 over there, and mostly sheep, mostly goats. But every once in a while, I'd get to a ranch and they would say, Graciano, do you think you can shear that for me? And I never seen one of those, a llama or an alpaca. So I said, yeah, I think I can do that. So here we were trying to shear the llamas and alpacas. A lot of times it wasn't to the standard of now, because most of the time here now they lay them down and they stretch them out and they take their blanket off. And so I do it standing up, 1 or 2 here. Then the group started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, like, you know, 5, then it'd be 6 and 7. And then all of a sudden I had these ranches that, oh, can you come and do my 50 or can you come and do my 70? And I was kind of going around right here locally around the Inland Empire. And I don't know how the word kind of got out, but it traveled pretty fast. And pretty soon I found myself out in San Diego, out in Malibu, out in Ojai, up in Bakersfield, Tehachapi, all these places, to where it came to the point that I had to choose. Do you want to keep your construction job or do you want to go shearing? And for a while, I had worked it out with my employer that he knew from March to like June, I was going to take off, and then he'd leave the door open and I'd come back and do my construction job. Well, after a while, that much time off wasn't enough time. So I started doing this like full time. And in addition to the shearing of sheep, llamas, alpacas, Angora goats, we also like hoof pigs and stuff, other stuff that we do, ranch services. But that's how I got back into shearing. My dad still would help me, you know, because I when I got the bigger jobs, he'd still come out and help me, or my brother comes out and helps me. And I have like a lot of business, and my daughter's like, Dad, she started to go to college and she says, you know what, Dad, I really like working out at the farms. She goes, do you think you can teach me how to do this? Because I would like to continue this business, you know, and I'd hate to be sad to let it go and let it die. And so I've been showing her for the last couple of years, and it's kind of funny because she's probably like a spoiled little brat, and I'll say that is because when I started doing this, I had Dad's old stuff, which was not too modern, and it's all kind of old beat down equipment, and I made it work until I could afford better stuff, and now hanging in my garage, I got like state of the art, top of the line, you know, the big industrial stuff that they'll use in the competition and all that. And I'm trying to get her up to speed, and I take her out and she helps me, and she seems to love to do it. And little by little, I'm kind of weaning her off and letting her do a little more each time. And to be honest with you, I would really love to see her continue, you know, what my great grandfather did, my grandfather did, my father did, I did. And it's kind of funny. Her mom thinks she's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You have to be kind of crazy to say, I want to do this kind of work. But you know, we've seen the sheep, the boom of the sheep industry, you know, like I said, that was very powerful because, you know, it was subsidized. The government wanted that. They tell me during war times that the government wanted their wool off of the sheep so bad that they would kind of give the sheep shearers a free pass. Like, you can stay here in the States shearing, but we need you to keep shearing, because they needed the products of wool. And then also during the Angora, they had like an Angora boom too for a while. That was like the cashmere, like the nice fleece compared to wool. And my grandfather recants tales of, at the end of the day, because the price of the Angora wool was so high, $14 back in their day. That was a lot of money.
Yeah.
So as the shearers were leaving the corral, they would have to open up their box. So to
Ah.
make sure that they weren't walking off, you take a pound home, pound home, pound home, and they would kind of check their the toolboxes to make sure. And it's kind of amazing now. When I got into this probably like 20 years ago, because like I said, we started originally shearing sheep and goats, so I was very familiar with that. But I kind of transitioned into the alpacas and the llamas. But the fleece was going for like a high valued amount. The alpacas were in the thousands and thousands of dollars. And the fleece is, really nice, nicer than the wool, and even nicer than Angora. They were very touchy as far as second cuts and any of that kind of stuff. So you better get a steady hand. Don't come back and make a mess. They didn't like that. You were ruining their crop if you did that. And
Right.
I started, like I said, going all over Southern California. I started to feed into Northern California, but it got so crazy that I had so much business here in Southern California. I've already cut myself in half one time. And matter of fact, we just lost a local sheep shearer here. And heck, he probably tried to give me like 600 head of sheep.
Wow.
I'm so busy right now that I can't fit any more in, right? So I said, I better just keep everybody happy, or else you're gonna have a bunch of mad people at you.
Right.
But that's kind of how I ended up back into shearing again. It was by accident.
That's how a lot of us get into sheep, that's for sure. Yeah, I think you worked with Fred for a while, or you still do?
Actually, Fred and I have been the big competitors for a while. Last year, Fred hurt his shoulder.
Yeah,
So
I
he
heard.
able to shear, and I kind of covered all of his clients. So he's back in this year, but now we have that problem again because we have another gentleman from Oregon named Zane Smith. He's not coming out to Southern California anymore.
Oh, yeah, I know Zane too.
Yeah. So right now everybody's racing. My phone's blowing up, and we're already shearing. We've been shearing since January the 31st.
Right.
Today we were lucky because we got rained out, but we did get done what we had to get done. I've known Fred. Fred and I have probably been the biggest competitors against each other, but we're friends. Right? We're friends.
Yeah. I met Fred over at Art Boster's place before Art passed. And I helped because Art was older and Kathy, his wife, was older. I went over and helped wrangle the sheep with Fred. It's been a few years back. And then I would help Art take the sheep up to Black Sheep Festival and Oregon Flock and Fiber. So I had some rescue alpacas and llamas, and Fred would come out and shear those. They weren't worth any, their fleece was worthless, but I had to get them sheared because it's too hot down here. So yeah, yes. I'm really excited to hear that your daughter's going to do this. That's really great.
I'm really excited, and it's like, she has so many questions. The other day, one of the biggest keys to shearing is the sharpening. Because you can't be sending your blades out. I have like 500 sets of blades, and to send them out, you're talking $5 a set. And, to send them back and the shipping and back and forth, that, kind of stacks up. So I got to put her on the grinding wheel the other day. And it's so funny because mine, I'm just so used to sharpen, I just kind of throw them together. And I was showing her, but properly how to hold them on there. And this last couple of days, I've been, hey, Sammy, give me one of your combs, right? Like, I need one of yours because they're cutting great. She did a great job on her first time. And she's a little thing. She looks very young, and a lot of people are like, oh, where did you help at? And they see her get to work, and they're like, wow, she kicks butt. You tell your other helper they need to step up their game. I said, okay. But
that's great. Yeah.
I do a lot of the ranches of the alpacas here in Southern California. I've locked it down pretty good. And I said, I'm going to focus on Southern California, but I've sheared for Alpaca Hacienda, Alpacas of the Anza Valley, Kickback Alpacas, Rare Gem, Diamond Valley, anything local here. I've pretty much locked down pretty good. And another thing that's really good, it's been really good for us here, is a lot of these guys that are coming through from the other states, hit and go. And we're here 24/7. So, those twos and threes that they don't have time for, they don't bother us. That's what we started on. And I always try to keep that mentality, is that, hey, it's that first one that got us started, right? So I always try to make sure that I give those people the same respect as the big ranch. They deserve the
Right.
same respect, and we make time for them. And heck, we like those twos and threes. They work out good. They're good to teach the kid on,
Right.
because
Yeah,
it's a little harder on the fancy ranches where everything's detailed. You better have it right. They don't want nobody practicing on their stuff. And a lot of the people who have the rescues or just the pet ones, they're not very concerned about the fleece. So it's a good place to practice.
that's great. Yeah, we started Fiber Artist Market mostly for my FFA and 4-H students who are raising fleece animals, whether they're sheep or goats or alpacas or llamas. And then when COVID hit, we opened it up to everybody
Okay.
all over the United States, and it's still a free online site. So we've got lots of vendors on there, and we have room for more. It's a great sales site for them. They get 100% of the proceeds back at this point. If we can keep going with grants and donations, we want to keep it either free or really low cost. So
That's awesome. I'm trying to share that with a lot of my producers and a lot of the
great.
artists that make stuff.
Sure.
I'm going to share it on my Facebook page, because I have a lot of people that, hey, they spin, they crochet,
Right.
the weaving, they do the weaving.
Right.
And a lot of them have a lot of talent, but it's just kind of like they don't know where to
Sure.
put it out. Or also too, I have a lot of people who have opened up their ranches like to tours, and they like having products made
Right.
from the animals that are on the farms, and
Right.
they are always looking for vendors to buy. And what's kind of cool,
Right.
is this group only United States?
We have some Canadian people. We have a couple people from the UK, and we have a few folks from Peru, because I have some connections in Peru with some of the businesses down there that are trying to do, village
Yes.
workshop kind of stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, even the farm tours, we have a site on there where they can list their farm tours too, and we can point people toward that. So yeah, and just about anything to do with fiber, we can accommodate on the site. So that's great. Yeah, like I said, I started with the FFA and 4-H students. My whole thing is I want to teach the next generation of farmers, because like you said, it's sad to see the shearers go away. It's sad to see family farms and to see the younger generation not being able to carry on the traditions that I grew up farming. And so, yeah, I think it's really important, but we got to have a market for all this stuff. And with everything closed down, the festivals, the livestock shows, it's been hard, but it's been really rewarding, because people have gone online. Everybody said, oh, you can't sell this stuff online. They have to touch it. They have to feel it. And I'm like, well, if we can't, we can't. Let's just try it. And
Yes.
people are doing, yeah, people are buying it. So tell me a little bit about what it is that makes it easier for you as far as setting up the farm and the animals for you to come out and shear. What's the perfect setup for you to come out, for somebody who's having a shearer come out for the first time?
I think most shearers, include myself, the big thing is having the animals available and ready. Sometimes you get, I wasn't able to pet them up, and they're on 2 acres. It's like they don't have the resource or the manpower to herd those all in, but you can feed them into the barn in the nighttime. And if you lock them up, another thing, like today, it got rained out. If your shearer's coming by and it rains, if you have somewhere to keep them where they don't get wet, they can come through on their schedule, and they can stay dry, and they can be sheared easy. But the main things that you want to do on shearing day is you want to make sure that on sheep, they don't really do that much with the alpacas. Some of them do, but they call something called fasting, where you keep them off the feed. And there's a couple reasons for that. When you're shearing the animals, they tend to fight less when they're fasted. Also, if you're saving the fleece and the wool, and they have to do their business, right? That's all getting
Right.
so it's gonna get your fleece dirty and that kind of stuff. Also, too, like with the alpacas, they tend not to spit as much because they don't have something to spit at you. And if you have to have your little bags ready. If you want to put any names, if you're going to be picking just the blanket or ones and twos, most shearers will have somebody there that'll pick it up for you as long as the bags are ready to go. If you want to put a name on each bag, that should already all be pre-done. Or if you're going to give shots, they usually don't mind that you Chulo. They usually don't mind helping you or letting you do it while it's right there on the mat. But it has to be kind of a quick thing, because it's a time thing, they have to get a certain amount of animals in for the day to get to the next ranch and, just to be productive. But if everything's caught up, like I said, names on the bags, if you fast the animals, that's great. And a little bit of extra help, to kind of fall in wherever help needs to be. But other than that, the shears are pretty good. If you're shearing larger groups, you definitely want to have them all penned up. Definitely want to have them fasted, and you definitely want to have some extra hands there to jump in to help out when needed.
And one of the questions I get asked all the time is 12 hours fast enough, or do you need 24? Is there an optimal amount of time to fast them?
You know what? They say, and let me keep this also in mind. When they say fast, a lot of people say, well, that's a long time without water. You can give them water. They're just talking about solid food.
Right.
Time. You can give them water and they can be okay. But I hear a lot of people, it's kind of debatable. But me personally, with a 12-hour fast, it's usually it's reasonable. I hear a lot of people that want the 24-hour fast. A lot of people it's very hard to get them convinced into a 24-hour fast. So you know what, if you can keep them off the feed for 12 hours, they can have water, that's fine. Oh, by the way, Mary, this is my daughter, Sam.
Hi, Sam. Hi, you're our shearer.
She's
exciting to meet you.
Yes.
That's great. Oh, and there's your helper.
That's what I'm fighting with right now. Like, get away from my cord. And unplug this from the wall. So I was like, okay.
Oh, nice. And what about pregnant ewes? Are there any special precautions? Is there a time during their gestation that you don't want to go past, or?
Well, that is questionable. Generally, the shearers prefer to shear the ewes a couple weeks prior to them shearing, which is good for the rancher because there's some key factors there. One is you can kind of look what's happening on the back end. When they start to dilate back there, you can kind of see the change going back. When she drops the lambs, it's clean back there. It's all the mess is cleaned off of there. You're not going to have that buildup back there after. Also, too, is the lambs will find the teats immediately, like real easy without digging through all that wool. And another thing is generally after those lambs are weaned, a lot of the commercial people, they'll rebreed those ewes and they'll breed a fall and a spring lamb. So right after she has her lamb and they kind of wean them away, she's already ready to be covered by the ram, and that's all taken care of. What generally happens after the ewe has the lambs is they get kind of like the wool gets really sticky, and the nursing lambs take a lot of nourishment out of the mom, so they tend to be a little bit more bony, and those tips of those clippers find the corner of those bodies a little bit more. But up to like 2 to 3 weeks before they even lamb, that's what most of my clients, they prefer me to shear prior to that.
Okay, yeah, and that's great because we do have the 2 seasons down here. Not everybody gets 2 seasons the way we do in Southern California. So, yeah.
Do you do twice a year for your lambs, or do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the best. That's the most productive way of doing it, is the spring and fall lambs, right? And, as far as the lamb shearing goes, whatever's born in the spring is usually shorn in the fall, and whatever's born in the fall is shorn in the spring. That way you don't end up with the 18-month fleece. It's a little bit more used, a year then.
Exactly. So any other words of wisdom for our shepherds and shepherdesses regarding shearing, or any other wisdom you have to share?
You know what? I just kind of really would like to say that farming is such a rewarding thing. The dealing with a new fresh birth and seeing the whole process is something very, very, very rewarding. And in my experience, if you are a mom and dad and you have children, you know what, get them around those animals and let them see the birthing process and how the mama nurses them and that raising process. I just see a big, big, big significant difference from the farm kids to the city kids. They're just more kind. They're hardworking kids. They're it's just their focus is able to. So being raised around animals is just a rewarding life all the way around. That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. I love my FFA and 4-H students because they have that thought process about how to take care of their animals and, you know,
Yeah,
uh,
the responsibility is up
right,
here, you know, and nowadays
right,
that's the thing is everything's automatic and all the kids, you know,
right.
I even have that trouble with my younger kids is, oh, they don't want to go. They don't want to go see that. So, oh, it's stupid. Yeah. Okay. But
Yeah,
they know how to play on the TV or on the phones. And it's like, hey, there's other things to life than just
right.
that. We didn't have that
Well,
stuff.
well, and these kids know where their food comes from and what goes into producing food, which is, I think, in this world, really important. And that kind of touches on one other thing. I know that it is very controversial. There are people who think that the whole shearing process is dangerous to the sheep or hurts the sheep. And I want to tell you, as a shepherdess, my sheep aren't hurt. My sheep are my sheep, and I care about them, and I would never let a shearer hurt them. But I'm sure you've probably run into people who are worried that the sheep will be injured. Is there really, truly any risk to an animal being injured?
You know what? There are some with everything a little bit of risks. You know what? The clipper sometimes can make a little nick. Um, I know that my farm, my ranchers are spoiled. They know I spoil them. I spoil all of them. And it takes an extra 10, 15, or 20, you know, to throughout my day to make them happy. That's my whole thing is to try. My goal when I walk in is try not to make any nicks or anything, but it does happen and not to be disappointed. It's something they usually take care of. They put a little antiseptic spray on there. But as far as mistreating your animals, no. Uh, Most of the shearers, almost every shearer that I know that I've ever seen, they're very humane as far as the way that they set them down, the way that they release them, they shear them. The nick possibilities are really, really, really small. But yeah, shearing has to be done. You know, uh, the reason that shearing has to be done is because we've taken a selective breeding and we've taken the woolliest sheep and the woolliest sheep to breed them together to make us a more woollier sheep. And if you kind of want to be interested in something, go look on. There's a sheep, and I forgot what his name was, but he kind of broke away from the
All right. Yeah, every year they find one of those out there
yeah,
somewhere.
and they're
Yeah,
very woolly, and they're meant to be. They have to be sheared now. So
right,
I think not shearing them is more inhumane to them than shearing them. You know,
right,
because they need it done. It's kind of like taking your child to the dentist. The teeth
right.
need to get pulled. It needs to get pulled. It's not hurting them. But yes, like I said, that's my big main goal, and that's what I'm teaching Sammy is you have to be humane to people's feelings, and you have to be humane to their animals, and never think any kind of a question is stupid, right? Because some people
Right,
don't know animals and it's their first experience. So
right,
take the moment to explain to them, you know, like their diet or any kind of vaccinations that they recommend or that may be required, or if they ask you questions about, you get some sheep, maybe has a bad foot, and you look at it and it has hoof rot on it, or just certain little things that they don't know anything about, and you can let them
right.
know. If after they're sheared, you see something on the body, a sore that doesn't look normal, hey, you might want to take a look at this, and they can decide from right there, do you want to call the vet out to do, or you can try this spray or this stuff and try to treat it yourself, because obviously somebody who has 100 animals, they have to learn how to do some vaccinations and worming on
Right.
their own, right? So,
Yeah.
but yes, shearing is a necessary process, and around here and almost everybody that I know, it's done humanely and as nice as possible.
Yep. And do you have a favorite breed?
To be honest with you, I like the hamps. I do like the hamps.
Ah,
but I do share, and you know what else also too? I don't know, do you know George Saunders out of
Oh
Grand
yeah, I know George. Oh yeah.
I love going
Yeah,
to George Saunders' house. Matter of fact, I've only been sharing George Saunders for about 3 years. And I like George because George is one of those guys, he's so knowledgeable about the fleece, and he's so
oh,
particular, right? That the hair on the back of your neck stands up and like, oh man, I gotta go to George's. But
and
George,
those cormos of his are beautiful. He just put them
yes,
all up on the website. So I actually need to go interview him because he has so many years. He's like Art was. He has
yes.
so many years of knowledge that we need and we want to save it.
That's why I love George. I love
Yeah.
George for that. It's like, hey, he's like so picky. He's like right there. You better leave that bump there. Don't come back and take that, right? But he kind of pushes you to your excellence, right? And I love
Right.
to see him. And
Right.
so George, and he has some nice sheep, and those are
Oh
wool.
my,
I
yeah.
do shear the wool breed sheeps. Nice, nice.
Yeah, those cormos are so greasy though. Oh, they must gum up your machines like crazy.
They do. Do you shear your own stuff?
So do you go up to Will and Amber and Doug's place up in Devore?
Yeah,
And
Clapton.
yeah. So Will's one of my students, and so those Corriedales and Cotswolds, those are from Art's place when Art passed, and so I do a lot with their wool. And
Okay.
I haven't been out for a while. I haven't gone to help with shearing now for a few years since Art's gone.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to go out and see. I want to interview George and get him going and get
Oh,
some of
he
his
is-
fleeces up on the website and get those sold. But my favorite's the Corriedales. I mean, I love the Cotswolds are nice, but honestly, it's rug wool for the most part,
Yes.
and Santa Claus beards and doll hair. They're
Yeah.
not fine wools where the Corriedales are. So
Yeah.
Corriedale's my favorite. I love them.
George got a couple Cordales over there too, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
got
he does.
some at his place as well.
He is such a careful breeder. I really appreciate his knowledge about the breeding that he does. It's really fabulous. Yeah.
He's one of my favorite people, George,
Right.
and I love Doug and Amber too. Matter of fact, they're scheduled to shear on Easter Sunday. Hey, they'll go.
Oh, I might come up there. I'm going to try to come up. Yeah.
It doesn't look like I'm going to be going out. Amber and I are going to be going out to breakfast on Sunday, Easter Sunday morning. So we're going to be out there on Sunday morning to shear their stuff. They only have
Great.
30. So,
Yeah, I might try to make it up there. I don't know if Will's gone back to college yet or not, but
oh yeah, when I was there last year, he was at college when I went. Well, actually, I went in the fall. We did theirs in the fall.
mhm,
So now
yeah.
we're coming back for the spring. But he was at college then.
Yeah, I took a couple of years of their shear and sent it off to Zeilinger's wool mill and got back, I don't know, several hundred pounds of yarn and roving that I've been selling at the markets and that. So I'd like to do it again, but I got to get it all sold, and without any markets open, it's a little
Yes.
hard to do. So
How'd that
we'll
wool
see.
come out?
Oh, the Corries are beautiful.
Was
The
it-
roving from the Cotswolds is beautiful, and I weave rugs, so I'm happy to have it for rug weaving.
Are you on your site?
Yeah.
Your rugs are on there?
I don't have any rugs on there. I just do them when I have time. Someday maybe. I retire in June, so hopefully I can start weaving enough to sell. Now I just do them for friends.
Dominique, go inside the room over there. I have to hide Dominique from all my friends because she sees all you guys' work and she's like, oh, I want one of these. I want one of those.
Oh, well, as soon as we start meetups, I should get in touch with you. She can come down. We have big dye. I have a big studio, and the gals come over and we dye and we process fleeces and we spin, and I have 6 carders. We card our own, and we have spinners and weavers. So she should come over and have fun with us.
She's like this, look.
Oh, we'd love it.
You get that going again, let me know. She would love to.
Oh, that'd be great. We talked about maybe trying in April. We'll see how this whole COVID business is, and hopefully we'll get back together. We're just down here in Redlands, so we're close by. So
okay, I thought you were okay. Yeah, we're right here close to you. We're not too far from you. But yeah, definitely we'll look for your stuff when you get going. I would like to know. She'd love to go out And she goes to a lot of my people's, like we have some people that are weavers, and then you know Kathy Lambert out in
Oh, I know Kathy. Yeah, I know Kathy
oh my
well.
God. She's pretty talented. I was inside of her little store
Yeah.
over there, and she has a lot of nice stuff. And
Oh, she does.
I used to shear. I think, do you know Renee Finney up in Wilton, California?
Now, does she have the fins?
The fins.
Yeah, and she moved up kind of by Mariposa, right?
She's moving to Arizona now, but she
Oh,
she was out in a little town up above Lodi called Wilton, and she has an alpaca ranch, fiber ranch out there.
oh my.
But yeah, so I used to shear for a lot of these, but I take Dominique and she gets, oh, Gracie. I'm like, oh my goodness, here we go.
Oh well.
That was my profit.
Oh, we will take her down that rabbit hole. She'll love
it. She knows you're laughing. She thinks that's funny. But do you have any other questions that you might?
Nope, I think you answered them. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you don't mind, I'll use your recording for the site as well, and then I'll get it into the magazine, and let's stir up some interest in that. I think everybody's really interested in hearing about the mills and the shearers, so this is really cool.
What mills do you use? Are you using?
Well, for the bigger amounts, I've been sending all the way to Michigan to Zeilingers, because Sherry up at Morro Bay is always so far behind that I can't ever seem to get into her cycle.
Right.
If I have a one-off that I want, I'll send it to her. I do a lot of buying trips up in Oregon and Washington and Montana. And then I take them to the mills up there. And now there's another one now, 3 Mile over in Wyoming, that I'm going to try using too.
Okay. Did you know Pat Profit right there in?
I did. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I lost a lot of my fleeces up there in the fire.
Burned down, right?
Yeah, I had something like 50 fleeces up there with her when the fire came through, because we were just Leanne and I, my friend Leanne and I, were helping her learn how to do it, how to get things going. We'd run a few runs of fleeces before the fire, and then I had bunch of fleeces up there, and the fire came through and lost them all along
I'm
with her.
sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Oh, I know, Pat.
Have a California outfit.
You know? Oh, I know. Well, I've been talking with the gal who owns Hands On Knitting, Molly, and we've been talking about a Belfast mill here in Southern California. I just don't know if there's the volume. That's the problem. You've got to run hundreds of pounds a week to make that worth your while. And I'm not convinced we have enough wool here to do that in this day and age.
Right. Yeah, it's just tough when you find a good one. Those ones are always full of people like that one. Oh, well, they're so backed out, or they're so far out, you know.
Right.
And have you dealt with Met out in in Prescott?
Yeah, they moved out there from Rancho, right? They were a ranch of the Oaks. I can't remember. Yeah, Ranch of the Oaks, right? Yes, yeah. Yes. And then there's something time. Oh, Antique Town. What's the one down in San Diego? They just do alpaca.
The Simpler Times.
Yeah, Simpler Times. That's the word.
I haven't got a lot of good reviews on that one lately. Like, well, they started off good, and then it seemed like it kind of maybe they got too backed up or something.
Right. Yeah.
But that's why I always ask you, because people always ask me, some good ones.
I will let you know about this new mill over in Wyoming, because it's not that far away. They seem to be, everything I'm hearing about them is really good, and they can go all the way to yarn, which is important because a lot of places can get you up to roving, but they can't go all the way to yarn. And that I pay the extra to go to Zeilingers up in Michigan, because they just do a beautiful job of
anything. You the whole way too, right? All the way.
Oh yeah, yeah, and fast, like 6-week turnaround.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's the biggest problem is the return time of and then kind of what coming back. You know how the end product looks. So
yeah.
But
yeah, no, we've been really pleased with what they've done. It's just a little bit more on shipping, but then because they're so huge and so high volume, their prices are a little lower too. So that's good.
That's another thing. The price has a lot to factor. The price, like I said, the turnaround and then the end product. That's probably the biggest thing that you hear. You know, but yeah, keep me posted and see how they do.
I will.
I push. when I hear of a good one, I try to push as many of my clients in that
Oh
direction.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, have them get in touch with us. Tell them to go check out the website, and
Okay.
one of us will get back to them and guide them through the whole process.
Okay.
All
Awesome.
right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank
Have a
you.
good day.
You
Bye
too.
bye.
Bye bye.